I'm wondering what that sound was.
Oh, please tell
No,
me nothing's come into your home.
no, no, not nothing, nothing, nothing like that here. But everybody, welcome to another episode of From the Desk, not From the Desk, Comic Book Spectrum. I don't know why I think it is Saturday, but then again, I want the weekend to come already.
I would like the week to be over too, if
Yep,
it's any consolation.
yep.
This week already feels 2 weeks too long. It's the heat and humidity.
And it sounds like everything's okay. People are moving around upstairs. I'm not going to worry about it.
Are they still mad about last about Saturday?
No.
Oh,
Mm-mm.
okay. They got over it.
Mm-hmm. I'm not even thinking about that. Not even thinking about that. But that, like I said, it's just wouldn't be a birthday without something going wrong.
I'm so sorry. Okay, come on now.
But anyway, let's talk about why the thumbnail from today is kind of like going back to like the childhood. If people remember Square One Television or PBS, you should remember MathNet.
MathNet.
Yes, and it was like one of those few skits that they did on MathNet that actually was like a actual series, and they had like a series of cases here. And I did find a pilot episode, which is broken up into five like 6.5 minute pieces here,
Yeah, they're not very long, but they were really awesome,
thought
very
out,
funny, and insightful. And they did the math.
they did the math, and they actually showed police investigation why math was so important, even even
Yes.
though even though it was supposed to be a cop drama, but it made math the forefront. Like the unit that they were in, they were the mathematicians. They were the ones that these cases came to. And sometimes the stuff that they had to do was very, very simple, but it turned into dramatic. And I always shouldn't say dramatic, but sometimes outlandish types of scenarios that come in the middle of it, such as what happened in the pilot in the very first part of this pilot, which we're going to watch right now here. So, without further ado, here we're going to watch the first part. Oh, dang it! it Come on now, mouse act right. I was working the day watch out of MathNet. There we go. Okay, we're going to go back. Okay, so now, without further ado, we're going to do this right now.
There we
Here we go.
go.
We're going to watch the first 6 or so minutes of it. The story you are about to see is a bit, but it's short. The names have been made up, but the problems are real. It was Monday, 2:43 p.m. warm in Los Angeles for that time of day. I was working the day watch out of MathNet. The boss is Dad Green. My name is Monday. I'm a mathematician. My partner is George Franklin. We got a call about a neighborhood disturbance, problem over a baseball. I mentioned it to George. You've got a problem, George. Baseball.
I love baseball, Kate. Martha and I went to Dodger Stadium just last night, Kate.
The Dodgers played in Cincinnati last night, George.
Yeah, no trouble parking. You want to go with us, Martha, me to a Dodger game, Kate? No trouble parking.
You've got a problem, George. Let's roll. 3 p.m. George and I drove to the neighborhood to question possible witnesses. One of the first rules of problem solving is getting the facts. I'd like to ask you a couple of questions, sir.
Sure. Why not? Go ahead. I mean, shoot. I got nothing to hide.
Yes, sir. You notice any kids playing baseball around here today?
Kids?
Yes, sir.
Playing baseball?
Yes, sir. That's what we want to know. Kids playing baseball.
Not really. There's hardly enough room in the store for the new ski jump, let alone a baseball game.
Yes, sir. We didn't mean in your store, sir.
Besides, I wasn't here all day.
Where were you?
When?
Then?
Then?
Then.
There.
What were you doing there?
Where?
There.
Nothing. Not much anyways. Just watching a bunch of kids play baseball.
Do you know where they are?
Who?
The kids.
When? Then?
No, now.
Yes.
Where?
There.
What happened, son?
We lost our baseball, ma'am.
Uh-huh. A lot of that going around.
Yes, but this ball is different.
Different?
Yeah, not the same.
How was it different?
For one thing, it wasn't ours.
It was my dad's. It was a special ball. It was signed by Babe Ruth.
King of SWAT?
Sultan of SWAT. My dad finds that I lost a souvenir. He'll murder me. Gotta find that ball.
When was the ball last seen?
When Nell belted it, I really teed off on it.
Good pitch?
High and tight, right in the wheelhouse. I got the meat of the bat on it, and now it's in left field. Sailed over my head, still rising. I lost it in the sun. She hit it a ton.
It has it vanished in thin air. They can't find it anywhere. My dad's gonna skin me.
We'll do the best we can. Let's measure the area, sketch it on paper, and run it through the computer. It'll be easier to sift through the information once we can see it.
Right.
Anything else, kids?
Don't think so. Just that I need that ball by the time my dad gets back from his business trip, or he'll rip me to shreds.
Yeah. We'll get back to you. 3:45 p.m. We asked Jenny Carlson, our computer expert in the lab, to help us out. She copied the information George gave her from his sketch onto the computer.
All right. This is a map of the area. Here is home plate where the ball was hit. This is left field, the direction the ball took.
What's that?
That's the billboard, remember, George?
You're right.
Now, if the ball landed in here, the kids would have found it.
But the left fielder was here, and he said the ball went over his head.
Well, if it landed behind the left fielder, they should have found it too.
It wasn't there. They looked, we looked, no ball.
What if it had gone farther against the sign?
That would be a heck of a clout. Do you think she could have hit it that far?
She said she got it all.
Well, if the ball hit the sign, this is what might have happened. It would have bounced here.
The angle of incidence equals the angle of reflection.
Yeah, the ball would bounce off the sign at the same angle it hit the sign.
If this angle is 50 degrees, then this angle will be 50 degrees.
Now, if the ball hit somewhere else,
This might have happened.
Uh-huh.
Or it might have done this. In every case, the ball bounces off the sign at the same angle it hit the sign.
Well, if it hit the sign, it would have to be somewhere in here.
there was a house there, George. Let's roll. Excuse me, ma'am. I'm Monday, MathNet. This is my partner, George Franklin.
MathNet.
Mind if we ask you a few questions? Like what? These kids lost a valuable baseball. We have reason to suspect it might be on your property. We'd like to search the grounds for information. Mind if we take a look around?
What would their baseball be doing on my property when they play way over there?
The angle of incidence equals the angle of reflection.
What?
Mathematics and physics.
We think the ball hit that sign. If it did, it should have bounced on your property, probably on your porch. Did you hear anything like that?
A baseball bouncing on my porch?
Yes, ma'am.
No, but then I've been gone most of the day.
Remember what time you left?
I remember exactly. I forgot my shopping list. I had to go back inside to get it, and I noticed the clock. It said exactly 1:45.
Yes, ma'am. Mind if we check that porch?
Okay. Watch the step.
We went over the property with a fine-tooth comb. No sign of the ball. Let's take a look at that sign.
Think the ball could have done that?
Could be. Let's get back to the office. We'll keep working on it, kids.
Sure hope he saw that.
Your dad?
Yeah, he'll join quarter me.
Morning, Jenny. Did that new information help?
Sure did. You know what?
What?
Look. That's the house. If the ball hit the sign where you think it did, it would have hit it right from Mrs. McGregor's front door. It must be in the house.
Couldn't be. The door was closed.
But look at this. The ball hit here. It would have ricocheted and gone right here. If the door was closed, it would have bounced into this area.
We looked there. No ball.
Kate, wait a minute. Remember what Mr. McGregor said? Hello, ma'am. This is George Franklin, MathNet. Ma'am, when you went back into the house for your shopping list, did you close the door? You didn't?
If the ball was hit then,
It must be in the house.
Ma'am, we're coming back to see you. We have reason to believe the baseball is in your house. Mind if we look around?
Not really, but that's easier said than done.
How's that, ma'am?
My house has been stolen.
And that is one of the examples. That's one of the examples that I remember from back in the day here of how something that is simple get overturned so dramatically in the show that it was just like, why? It's like, okay, they're looking for a baseball, now a whole house is stolen.
Yeah. Like, well,
Or
It was
Or
just a baseball. Now it's the whole dang house.
or like another one that I watched earlier today. It was one where it's like, oh yeah, they have to help the city plan out a parade, and the main guest for the parade that they was having the parade for gets kidnapped at the end of the first part of it. It's like, how did we? It's like, oh, this is something simple. They almost finished it. It's like, oh, we don't have to worry about it. It's like, why? He's been kidnapped. Like, they had to solve how, they had to solve the whole thing about who kidnapped him and how he kidnapped him.
Yes.
How they kidnapped him. It just MathNet was like one of those series where they spoofed a lot of things, because they spoofed Dragnet. They also spoofed Police Squad, because that was George Franklin's. George Franklin character was really Frank Drebin, if you really thought about it. And Kate Monday was Joe Friday. So you had Joe Friday and Frank Drebin together.
Yeah, I always thought of Dragnet because I grew up watching Dragnet a lot, and then of course Efren Zimbalist Jr. and FBI.
Right.
So those were the shows when I watched MathNet with the kids. Those were the shows that I immediately thought about.
See, I thought about Dragnet and Police Squad, because of George's reaction to a lot of things, reminding me of Frank Drebin.
Ah, okay.
And the fact that his last name was Frankly, it's like, okay, they're playing on the names. Kate Monday, Joe
And
Friday, Frank Drebin, George Frankly.
And I love the fact that they play that the two actors who do it play it so very deadpan. It helps sell the jokes. And I'm sure a lot of kids are sitting there watching, not getting that, because unless you're familiar with, like I said, the FBI, Dragnet, even Police Squad, you won't get that.
Right.
You're not going to necessarily get the jokes, or give us the facts, ma'am, just the facts. A lot of,
Just like the kidnapping, they ended up finding this one kid who was a potential drummer, and he was, he knew the artist that they was looking for, and he will always talk in musical terms, and to have George constantly use these weird musical terms that only the little kid know about, and have Kate just be like deadpan, like, what? It's like, as a kid, it would be missed out on a lot of people, but as you get older, you think about the older shows that they was mimicking, it made sense.
And I mean, it was one of the things I liked about that series is, and I'm not panning kids shows, but they didn't write it like they were writing for little kids.
Exactly.
They trusted, just like the Muppet Show, they trusted that the kids would get the jokes that were meant for them at their particular time of life.
I always think about the Bozo Show, and about the skits that they play on the Bozo Show that had a lot of double entendres.
Well,
the
also
jokes
because
were really
half the time
written
they
for
were drunk.
huh?
I mean, if you think about Ray Rayner and the Bozo guys, because they all knew each other, sometimes they were pretty well sauced on that show, so they weren't as sober, so yeah, they told a lot of veiled blue humor on that show. It was kind of like, this is the best gig we're gonna get, and sometimes you could see, every once in a while you could see that look in their eyes that told how they had other dreams, and this is where they're stuck. And you and I guess I watched Ray Rayner, and and I thought, oh, he's so funny, and then older kids I knew would go, he's drunk, right? And it's like, no, he's not. And it's like, yes, he's drunk.
Oh,
like,
when he was playing Oliver, I believe he was drunk.
And also, Charleston and all of that. But
well, that was his show. I'm talking about Bozo Show, because I remember there's a classic telling of Goldilocks and the Three Bears that with over the top. And the
There was
only
a
reason it
lot of
made
stuff on
sense.
that show that there are a lot of those things that kind of went over the top. But when you're a kid, you're just thinking, oh, this is funny, this is goofy, it's sweet. You're not thinking, and I guess maybe because my mother occasionally had friends over who would sit and play cards and they would tell jokes and it's like, okay, that's just how adults talk when they think kids aren't listening or whatever. Um, so I guess I really, and I was watching, I guess also because I was also watching, Flip Wilson, and
Hmm.
people forget, one of the, Flip Wilson brought comics with him.
Hmm.
And one of the comics that was most successful on the Flip Wilson show was George Carlin,
Hmm.
because he was the hippy dippy weatherman here with the hippy dippy weather man. So I just, there was some really interesting humor going on back in the day. And I loved Dean Martin and the Gold Diggers, you know. And I remember it wasn't until I was much older that, because everybody used to think Martin was drunk on the show, and then a friend in the know in the business said, no, that was apple juice. He actually wasn't the drunk, but that was the persona.
Well, that was his crooner persona from back in
That
the
Yeah,
day.
but that was the persona, that was the
Mhm.
expectation, and so he played it because he was able to work it to his advantage. Something
Mhm.
that could have been a bad point for him, he worked to his advantage. But they were saying, no, he was never drunk. That was apple juice.
Mhm.
Because he was too concerned about getting things right and having things done right to mess it up by not being sober. It's like,
See,
oh wow, that's
see,
interesting to know.
now you're getting me thinking about Roland and Martin's Laugh-In.
I loved that show. They have some episodes of it on Prime Video.
Mhm.
They're kind of truncated though,
That's the
but
problem. That's part of the
it's
problem.
not the, but I forgot Nixon had been on that show.
Twice.
Yeah, Nixon was on that show. First time I think he was BP at the time,
Hmm.
and then the second time he was actually president. But Nixon saying "sock it" to him was just. I sat there and watched it and just went, "Oh God." How many times did he have to say that line before the director said, "You know what? We'll work it out."
Right.
We'll cut it. We'll make it work. But there are a lot of people, and I loved Lapton. I used to think, oh, one of these days I'm gonna get grown, and then I'm gonna go to parties, and it'll be. I used to think, oh, that's what a grown up Hollywood party is like. Everybody's dancing, and people are telling jokes, and when you're a kid, you were stupid.
Right.
Okay,
But
and which brings me to, before I forget this and before I fall asleep. It's been a hard day. Um, I watched the first two episodes of Alien Earth, which is on, if you're watching on cable, it's on FX because it's an FX series. But you don't have to have FX or cable to get it because you can get it on Hulu, which means if you have Disney Plus, you just click in the Hulu from Disney Plus and you can get it. Because
if
for
your
some,
membership includes it, that's only if
oh,
your membership includes
I
it.
I pay for the Hulu Disney bundle and I got stuck with ESPN and they won't let me get rid of ESPN, which is stupid. Um, and now I can't sign in the Hulu. I can get in the Hulu from Disney Plus,
Hmm.
but they won't let me sign directly in the Hulu, which to me is like, okay, you take my money, but you ain't gonna let me sign in. Great, thank you. But I actually did get to. I went into Disney Plus and then went into Hulu from there and watched it. I not only watched it, but then I actually watched and I wish I could have done the show with him, because I would have loved to have had this discussion. One of the reactors I love to watch is a guy named Sintel, and his show is called Sintel Reacts, Syntell Reacts. here on YouTube, and he watched the first episode. I caught his episode of that today. There is a lot about this that I really enjoyed. But it kind of helps if you understand the timeline. This takes place in 2120. The first Alien is set in 2122. So this is it's set after Aliens versus Predator and before the first Aliens, which is
Okay.
important to know. Which to me is like, and I don't know how this series is going to end, but considering it's 2 short years between when this happens and the situation above the Nostromo happens, I don't know if and I can tell by Prometheus and Covenant and Romulus, to some degree they are trying to retcon a lot of the original Alien series.
Why?
So Alien 2 and 3 Resurrection, it's like they kind of want to retcon those as if, oh, well, those are kind of mistakes.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. Two to me was never a mistake.
No, but
three wasn't a mistake either, but anything after 3 to me would be like, why?
Part of the thing about 2 that I think, because understand, yes, the guy who has written this and is doing the active producing of it is this guy Noah whatever, but it's being done through Ridley Scott's company.
Mm-hmm.
And if you remember when Aliens came out, one of the first things audiences as well as reviewers were saying was not that it's just as good as the original, but in some cases people go, oh my God, it's better than the original. So Scott may be a little pissed at that. Kind of want to wipe it out the map. I don't know. But like I said, it happens at a very short time now. And along with that, I need to give some history. Will you not do that? Stupid computer. It's weird. This one of the questions that this series is asking is, what does it mean to be human?
Well, my question to the writers would be, why is that an issue?
And I'm going, like I said, let me give you a little history. There are 3 types of what you would call artificial sentience within the alien universe. The first are androids, most notably Ash from the first.
And Bishop. Ash and Bishop.
Also, Call. If you think about those 3, Call is the character Winona Ryder played in Alien Resurrection. She was a special type of android. They were androids who got tired of being told what to do. And so they burned their Wi-Fi emitters. They basically had a revolution.
Mm-hmm.
And went underground to have a robot resistance, I guess.
And android resistance, but then again, if I remember correctly, she was built more like the Ash model than the Bishop model.
No, she was more like a progression of the 2. She had a respect for human life, and she was also, along with the rest of her android brethren at that time, become not just self-aware, but they wanted the right to make their own choices.
Mm-hmm.
And she had gotten into Weyland Yutani's, she had got into their mainframe. And so that's how she learned about Ripley and Nostromo and what happened at Fury and all of these things. including the place where they regrew Ripley and the Queen. She had found out all that information, and she got into the crew of the Betty because her intention was to put an end to this. In 2120 Earth, the human society is dominated by 4 main corporations. Weyland Yutani, the newest of the 4, they don't mention the other 2. The newest of the 4 is a company called Prodigy. Prodigy is run by a tech bro who isn't even 21. And he has because he's like 17 or something like that, he's got something of a god complex. Okay, that's remember. Now, along with the other androids, we have David, who is from Prometheus and Covenant, Walter from Covenant, and Andy from Romulus. Those are the androids. The cyborgs, which we meet in this series, we only have one. Now, Andy, yeah.
So that's something kind of sort of new.
Yeah. The cyborgs are humans who have been modified with cybernetic parts. So they are, they're not considered what the third party is, but they are humans. So they have cybernetic parts, but because still parts of them are human, they maintain their own selves, their sense of self, whatever morality they came into the situation with is the morality that they have when they come out. They're not programmed, unlike the androids who are programmed. Ash was programmed to be what he was. And then
to a certain degree.
And then later Bishop, because when Ripley realizes Bishop is a synthetic, he tells her, I cannot by action or inaction harm or allow to be harmed a human being. So that they've taken Asimov's 3 rules of robotics and implanted them in the Bishop models.
That's the thing. I still get caught up in the difference between Ash and Bishop, because Ripley's story pretty much focuses in on that, because you have to remember that Ash, it wasn't truly Ash's programming. It was the order given to Ash that
it was also his program, because he was ordered. Remember what they said in the movie. Ripley asked the captain, how long have you been with this guy? He goes, I've been having the science officer I've been with for however many years. Last minute, he gets Ash. They put him on that ship. Weyland Yutani knew what it was looking for. Okay? And they put him on that ship. He was not programmed. He, like this character Morrow, who is a cyborg, both had the same. In the cyborgs area, he was willing to take it, because I think he was always a butthead. But I think in regard to Ash, it was the programming. They were not the priority. Whatever the Nostromo was bringing back was not the priority.
It was
the
his
xenomorph
order.
was the priority. The specimen was the priority, and the crew was expendable. Bishop was not given
that order,
that directive. And because of the way that his model of android was made, interesting that the guy who played Bishop also plays Weyland in AVP. So to say that the Bishop android was physically,
I would have never put that. I would have never put that two.
It's the same
together.
actor. It's the same actor. He plays Weyland in Aliens versus Predator. And then Bishop, who is a couple of hundred years afterwards, is made on him. Bishop is made to look like him. And we find out in Alien 3 that his descendant looks exactly like him and looks like Bishop, because when he comes to try to collect Ripley and he says, "Do you know me?" It goes, you're a Bishop android. You're an android like Bishop. And he says, "No, he's the descendant of that Wayland." And the Bishop is made to look like him, and he of course looks like his ancestor.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and this is, I know it's a little complex, but we have to
No, it's,
remember
it's, it's not complex because if you watch you have to think about the order in which the movies happen to get a better understanding of what's going on here.
yes,
I would have never put ABP before Aliens 1, so that's kind of throwing me off a little bit.
AVP happens in the, I think, either 90s or early 2000s, because that's supposed to happen in modern day Earth. It's supposed to happen for the time in which it was shot, modern day Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And then we find out that the aliens and the predators are based, because the pyramid complex they go into, they give the history of it. It has both, it has Egyptian, Mayan, Aztec.
Mm-hmm.
It has even
It was
some
talking about
Malaysian.
how everything was connected, ley lines and all the other stuff. And
Yeah, so they had been coming there for centuries,
mm-hmm.
and they had this was their sacred hunt. Hunting is sacred, but this was their ultimate sacred hunt. To do this was to put you above, to come here and take part in this.
Yeah, the predator culture, it was like you're going to be like a high priest or something to that magnitude.
Yeah, you're high royalty, you're high nobility to be able to go there and do this. And obviously they hadn't done it in quite a while. So it had been a while since a bloodline had risen to the point where they had decided they could do this again. But like I said, there is a cyborg named Morrow. And the episode opens the way they were smart, because they made it feel as if when it opens up on this ship, it's a research vessel. It has the feel. They went old school. They went all the way back to Nostromo and recreated. The room Mother is in, the computer is Mother, because it happens before Father.
Right.
So Mother is the computer. Moral, the one guy they were complaining about that they thought was a danger was not a danger. I'm sorry to say, but anyway, Morrow is the cyborg, and he is tasked. And what this ship has been doing, they have been going out in space collecting life forms, including our xenomorphs. They have quite the collection of life forms. And about 400 and some odd light years from Earth. I did not do that.
No.
That is not me.
And again, the certain person has to wait, because I told them that tonight is a live stream. They're going to call in the middle of the live stream here.
When you see the inside of Mother's, Mother has that terminal where you sit, and it's that nice white padded room.
Okay, give me one second. I'm going to give you the full screen here.
Okay. The chamber that they sleep in is very much from the early movie, except it's a larger group. And there is a captain who is paramilitary and what's left of his crew and the researchers. And they are now trying to hidey-ho their butts back to Earth with their cargo. And to tell you how stupid some people can be, they're talking. And Morrow keeps having to say, the specimens are the priority. The specimens are the priority. The specimens are the mission, not the people, not the captain, not his crew, the specimens. All these different specimens, little weird bugs, and I think it was a sheep with like 3 or 4 eyes and weird horns. It's some interesting thing. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. I will tell you though, just like in the original film, there is going to be some gross out spooky stuff. It has the atmospheric spookiness of the original film. If you are not someone who can sit down and watch this alone, do not watch it. I sat alone in a dark room and watched this and had all sorts of fun. But I'm crazy. Okay? I am insane. So yeah,
No, you're
I
just
got
a
off.
Marine.
I got off on it. Okay?
You're a Marine.
But one of the smart things they did, and I get it, this Noah guy, he's kissing butt. They did reach back to the original. A lot of for the ship, a lot of the original set design in regards to the crew quarters, the feel when they're woken up, when they're waking up and then they're sitting down and they're eating and all of that. You get that sort of, okay, this crew has been together. Most of these humans in this crew have been together for a while. They respect each other's knowledge and abilities and whatnot. And they get along for the most part, except this Morrow dude sitting there going, the specimens are the mission. Remember that. Um, After that, we cut back to Earth. There's a little girl. Her head is really huge. She's sick. She's dying. I'm mentioning her because she and some other kids are now going to fall into this third group of synthetic beings. They are called hybrids. They're what you get when you take a human consciousness and put it into a synthetic body. This little girl is sick. She is dying. And the kid I told you about, Prodigy, they have developed this technology. He is so wealthy, he's a trillionaire. His little research island is called Neverland. And he thinks he's Peter Pan. He names this girl because she is his prototype, Wendy. Okay? The operation is successful. Wendy, prior to her operation, had to be somewhere between 8 and 10. They are taking a prepubescent girl and putting her consciousness into an adult body.
Something that's red flag. Hold on, red flag. Red flag.
To knock home the fact that this is a child. Now, there are adults. Timothy Oliphant is in this series, and I gotta watch it just because Timothy's in there. I can't tell if he's an android. I think he's an android, not a cyborg. He is an android, not a cyborg. But when this woman who is the top researcher on this project they're trying to talk to her. Timothy Oliphant and this chick, unfortunately, are like the closest thing this kid and the other kids are going to have to parents. They're like the parent figures in here. And she's asking her, how are you feeling? And the little girl is like, these things keep moving. These things keep moving and walking and bouncing. She's complaining that, this woman is having to explain about breasts, and she has an adult body. They had to have adult dimensions and whatnot. It's like, okay, great. The children, she's successful, so he has grabbed other kids. Poor parents, child is dying. They can't afford the treatments. He's been able to get in there and snatch up this group of children from their parents, just as with her parents. She was given a burial. The parents were, the parents were given a small sum of money and a box to plant in the ground. So officially, the children are dead. This is a secret operation.
All of this is red flag. I would be angry about this part. I would be angry about this corporation.
Really kind of got on my nerves because it told me no matter what happens, this guy is not. And I realized, okay, you're not even 20 years old. This guy has to be somewhere between 16 and maybe 19. The guy who's running this corporation. When they show him on camera, he's sitting there with his big ass dirty feet on the table, crossed. It was not pretty. But because he's a trillionaire, people have to give him respect. He has a lot of ideas and he can make things happen. And so in the down low, they've taken these children and they're putting them, and he calls them, he thinks he's Peter Pan because before she goes in, I'm going to show you some magic. He does this, and this little part of the ceiling opens up, and they're showing footage of Disney's Peter Pan, specifically You Can Fly song. They can't use the music, but they're showing some of the footage. Mm-hmm. And I guess she had never seen it before. And she's like, it's like, it's going to be amazing. You're going to have a new body. You won't die. You won't get sick. You won't be sick anymore. You'll be stronger, faster, way more character. Kind of like, the $6 million man, but it's like an 8 or 9 year old child. He does that. She's successful. He then uses her to convince the other children that this is going to be a good thing. This will be good. It won't just be good, it'll be great. And she goes with him, and she's eager, and she wants to please him because he saved her. And so she's going to help him save all these other children. And in a conversation with Oliphant and the other character, he calls them his lost boys. You see where we're going here? Yeah.
All of this is red flag, and I'm up here like, somebody, it's like...
I found it disturbing. And I watched these 2 episodes, and as much as it's beautifully shot. The cinematography is first rate. The sets, it's really wonderfully done. From there, we go back to the ship. Things in the ship have not gone well. Morrow is sitting in the room with Mother, typing up a report saying that most of the specimens are still contained, but a few got free, and there have been some accidents. All the while he's typing stuff in the computer, putting in his report, there's a chick on the other side of the door begging him to let her in. At one point he gets out a torch, like the ones they had in Aliens, but it comes out of his arm.
Mm-hmm.
He seals the door. He seals it with the torch so the door can't open. He goes back. Because they're asking him about the crew. Crew expired. He could have saved her. He didn't. And the reason he didn't, because the xenomorphs, because the xenomorphs tend to be smarter than anybody gives them credit for, have gotten out. They've gotten into people, and they've birthed themselves while they were in their sleeping quarters, and things have gone worse from there. The ship is being overrun. They are on a collision course, and at this point they're not that far out from Earth, and he's all that's left because he wouldn't help the girl. There's a compartment we didn't know this and I think Ash was probably supposed to use it. in the floor of the mother chamber, it slides up. There's a little compartment. It's not an escape. It is a hide post. He gets in there, and you know he's human because he has to put on an oxygen mask so he can breathe. He seals this thing just as the alien is getting in so it doesn't get it. Crosses his arms above, on against his chest and gives himself over to sleep. And we go back to Earth, and remember, she is a child. She is a child, and so while she has intelligence, she, like the guy who has created her, lack things like empathy and wisdom. And she has found her brother because she had her parents and her brother. Her parents, she's been told, are gone. She's found out that her brother is alive. Her brother is working for search and rescue in Southeast Asia. And she is watching him.
Mm-hmm.
She watches him at work. She watches him get off work, go get himself something for dinner, and then go home. She watches him, and they watch her watch him. It's very creepy. Well, this happens. And her brother, she watches the situation where her brother has gone, because this is the Earth which made the whole Prometheus possible. In fact, that people, depending on where you live, depends on how well you do in life, depends on what company owns that part of the Earth you live in. And there are governments, but they are beholden to the corporations. He works for the local search and rescue as a medic. He has always wanted to be a doctor. In order to get training as a medic, he has had to sign this contract, just like the girl and the guy in Romulus.
Mm-hmm.
He has had to sign a contract that he would serve so long in search and rescue before he would be allowed to go on to get training as an actual doctor. Because if he can get training as an actual doctor, he gets a step up in the world, and he now can make a choice about his life, as opposed to just being told, this is all you are, this is all you can be. We see him as she's watching it. He goes up and he's not talking to a person. Hey, Leia, he's talking to a computer. And he's put in his application, a school on Mars, the Mars colony has accepted him. Beanie's here. Has accepted him into the medical program, but he needs to leave now. If he wants to start, they're giving him his test. He's done so well on this test, they're giving him a scholarship. But he needs to leave now. He puts in all this information. The computer goes beep, 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 beep. And they tell him, because the computer's like, you have 7 months on your contract left. Guess what? I really need to go now. Look, I've gotten all this and I've done all this service, pulled all these hours and stuff. Please, can't you let me do this? And the computer runs through his stuff and says, sorry, no, we can't. We find out in the second episode, he could have, but his sister changed the program so he couldn't leave. So she could keep him on Earth, where she could still watch him. Okay. Into this comes the ship. It crash lands on Earth into, I think it's Saigon or something like that. Crash landing into a building complex. Spaceship. Bam! It even takes out the station that looks a little like the station that Ripley was put in at the beginning of Aliens when, before she got to go back to Earth. She was in the space station. It was similar to that. It slashes through that and then hits Earth hands in this building. But luckily, it doesn't explode. Crashes into the building, demolishing much of it. And this happens. They're like, oh my God, you know, that's our job. We got to go. We're search and rescue. We got to go save these people. To say the least, they don't know what's on this ship because it's a Weyland-Yutani ship, but it's in Prodigy territory. The Weyland-Yutani at this point is run, the head of this company is the Japanese chick, the Yutani.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't want to tell this kid what's on the ship. Their search and rescue is now heading to the ship. She doesn't want to tell him what's on the ship, and he doesn't want to tell her, you know, what if he knows anything. And she's like, well, that's our ship. He goes, yeah, but it's on my property. So instead of thinking, this thing just crashed into a building, taking out how many people? And there are dangerous xenomorphs on board, along with a lot of other things. The xenomorphs.
Well, does he know about the xenomorph and what they were doing?
Because Weyland-Yutani has not told anybody.
And Weyland-Yutani is mostly militant or military too.
No,
not at this point.
They are weapons tech, but they're also biology. And
I thought there was I thought there was biotech, combat biotech.
They do things for the government, but the Marines, the colonial Marines that Ripley goes out with, and Burke,
mm-hmm.
The colonial Marines are part of the government. They don't belong to Weyland-Yutani. That's a Marine ship that they're on. Because the Weyland-Yutani manufactured the reactors, but they didn't sponsor the colonizers.
Okay, so now they're really rewriting 2.
No, in the movie, in 2, you find out when they're going that it
Paul Rice's character went.
Yeah,
and the representative of Weyland-Yutani.
Yes, and
just to verify.
But the thing is, he also, they are company. Sorry, they are company, because it's his word that Newt's parent goes out to see if that ship is there.
Mm-hmm.
But that hasn't happened yet. But
okay, I know it haven't happened yet, but
it's
where I'm trying to follow the history. I'm trying to follow the history.
But because of the fact that there are so many colonists and whatever, they have to send the Marines in. The colonial Marines have the first strike, because he can't tell Weyland-Yutani, and he can't tell the government that, yes, these things are real. Because remember, the whole point of what Ripley went through when she was on trial was they didn't believe her.
Mm-hmm.
And then he sends them out, and it turns out, oh, it's real. And now we've lost contact with the colonists. And so to keep his involvement out of it, he can't tell anybody. Ripley is the one who goes through the logs, and I think she had help from Hudson, but Ripley is the one who goes through the logs and finds the directive that he sending them out there. So he
found out that he was lying all this time.
Yeah, all that time he was lying. But anyway, like I said, this all takes place before that. But it is still that nature of we can't tell too much about what's going on, because we could we kind of run things, but if because there are still rules they're supposed to be obeying, which is you're not supposed to bring an alien organism onto the planet. And here is a ship that has crashed with a buttload of alien organisms, and not just the xenomorphs. And they all are deadly in their own rights. The thing with the cat, I was not expecting that. Oh man. I would suggest if you watch it during daylight hours with the lights on. If you are easily frightened, if you are easily scared, but like I said, there are things to like about it because they do go back to the original movie, and a lot of that initial stuff they brought back. So they got into the Wayback Machine and made sure that all the stuff that you loved about that, they brought that back. And it has the same atmospheric sense of dread that 1 and 2 had. There's that same atmospheric sense of dread, even in the situation that the ship has crashed into. It's crashed into a building, a tower. So you have the local government search and rescue. Girlfriend sees footage that her brother is with the search and rescue, and they're going in. So she convinces the dude who owns Prodigy that he should send her and her friends in. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And Timothy Oliphant, unfortunately, has the babysitter. and he makes it very clear he is not happy. Not how he wanted to spend his afternoon.
You want to know what it immediately made me think about? I was like, this went to like a hell in a handbasket real quick after that. If he was convinced that quickly, he just sent the petri dish to that site, because every last one of them could be breeders.
No, the children.
That's what I'm talking about.
Control of search and rescue, but the children, their bodies are synthetic. They can't be just like Bishop, just like Ash. They're synthetic. They can't be breeders. The whole point of the xenomorph that we've seen is they need an organic being in order to gestate in.
So I probably have to watch it because I'm more concerned about the whole consciousness thing.
Yeah. Now,
how do they do that completely synthetic? You can't.
You have to watch it to get it. Now, one of the things, because I was sitting there watching going, this reminds me of something I've read. And sure enough, Alien, Icarus.
The Dark Horse books.
Well, this one is Marvel. This is Marvel. Alien, Icarus.
That's the more recent. That's the more recent stuff. Then
it is a story about hybrids, synthetic hybrids, who have been sent on this planet where they're supposed to find. Hold on, I had it so I could specifically say what it's called. Because that's how I made sure I had the right date of when the Nostromo ended on this case, and it's listed as 2122. So, but they have to find what's called the ovomorphed egg, which is the egg the facehuggers come out of. They've gone to this planet in the hopes of finding an egg, so that they, just like with the last Jurassic World Rebirth, they because that was about, they needed to go find if they could get blood samples of these specifically large dinosaurs, they could use it to make treatments for people who are having heart troubles, because these large dinosaurs have very large hearts. In this case, they want to find this egg because they think they can use the fluid to use for disease cures and stuff. And of course, Weyland-Yutani is going to make a lot of money off of it. But the thing that I've noticed in reading these books and watching this series and going through the way things are going in this have been in the movie series, one of the things that Weyland-Yutani and Prodigy specifically, and And Wayland Yutani, it was outright, but it was also kind of veiled, because Wayland Yutani is, we're making better worlds. Who's going to live on those better worlds? They're all trying to manufacture an ultimate being that won't get sick, won't die, can't get injured that easily. And they all have this plan. They want to create these ultimate beings that are going to go live on these worlds, so that eventually humanity, as we understand it, will be replaced.
Mm-hmm.
Either they'll die out, or they'll be killed.
They were manufacturing their own destruction.
Everybody is trying to make their own, what they believe to be the ultimate person. This kid, the woman who works for him and is trying to counsel, she's not only dealing with these kids, but she's also trying to counsel Mr. I want to be Peter Pan God. Mm-hmm. And she asks him, why are you doing this? Because he doesn't care about saving humanity. And he tells her, I'm tired of being the smartest person in the room. I want somebody smarter than me to talk to. And she says, yeah, I'm smart. And he goes, yeah, but you're not as smart as me. Because his attitude is, if you were smarter than me, you'd be running your own company. He does not respect, and I get it, because he is little more than a child himself. He doesn't understand about wisdom, empathy, how all these things are shaped as we mature. So yeah, he has intelligence, but he doesn't have maturity. These children have speed and strength and whatnot, but they don't have maturity. And as Sintel React said, it reminded him of a lot of anime series. If you've ever watched the Gundam series, or where you have a child basically being put in an adult situation and given the responsibility that should be an adult's, but you have a child shouldering it.
Don't get me started naming shows.
I'm not going to. I was watching it, and it's like, okay, I'm going to give my review, because I realized how it tied into these books. And I only have, for people who are curious, it's a 6-part series. I only have 3, 4, and 5. So if you want to help me get 1, 2, and 6, hey, sell me some money. Otherwise,
or be nice and just send her the books.
Just send me the books. But because it talks about these hybrid synthetics that are like a family. They are a family unit, and they've been sent on this mission, and things go pear-shaped. And when it looks like they're about to be wiped out, people come and save them. And if you've anybody, and there are channels, I will next week, if anybody is interested, let me know, and I will give you the link. There are channels that go through the whole alien timeline, as well as the experimentation that Wayland Yutani has done, because they've watched not only the movies, but they've also gone, a lot of stuff is put in the games. Mm-hmm. What a lot of people don't get is Romulus, the thing from Romulus is actually taken from the games. And the games are like adjunct to the timeline. So they do kind of it. In other words, the games are not separate. The games actually are adjunct to it. So it's supposed to have this whole, they're building galaxy. It's galaxy building. It's very Tolkien-esque if you think about how complex that whole thing is. Um, but this did rub me in some wrong ways. Um, and it also broke my heart, and it made me. I don't know if you've ever seen Gundam Wing Iron-Blooded Orphans, show that I love that has broken my heart. I Biscuit. I'm just gonna say Biscuit.
Don't bring up Biscuit, because for it that was still one of the most heroic acts that had happened in that series.
And
Biscuit.
This, watching this, but the only difference is these kids had leadership. The kids in Iron-Blooded Orphans had leadership. And the older kids stepped up and made it when that attack came, the older kids did everything they could to make sure as many of those younger kids survived. And when they realized what was happening and they could not leave them behind because they didn't have anybody to care for them, they did what they could to provide for those children and keep them as safe as possible. This situation, and the whole reason these kids end up in this building is because this girl wants to go find her brother. If she can convince this boy to let her do it, that is her only mission, is to go find her brother. She doesn't care about search and rescue, but she tells him, we can do it. We're strong, we're fast, we can do all this stuff. And he sends, of course, one of the only two adults in the conversation with her in the hopes, except he doesn't really, he's an android. He's there because he's been programmed to do the job, but you can tell he really doesn't like humanity, because at one point when they're on the transport heading to this place, he tells them humans are food, or at least you used to be food, and then your brains got big and you figured out how to make tools and weapons and technology and stuff so that you were no longer food. Except now you're going out into space. You don't know what's out there. You might end up as food again. It's like, oh crap, he just explained the whole alien.
Well, that's the thing that I'm kind of gathering from the show. That's going to be the ultimate mistake that dude made.
Well,
he never gave the kids context.
They don't have any context. She's only told one boy what her true mission is, which is to go find her brother. And it's like one child telling another child the secret, and then for some reason looking really surprised when that kid blabs.
And even with that being said, it's more like the context of their existence. The creator, their so-called creator, messed up because he never told them the context of why he was the smartest person in the room. And because she was naive,
she believed him. He got her he sold her, he sprinkled stardust in her eyes while blowing smoke up her butt. And of course, because he's cute and she's what? He's probably her first crush. And she falls for it, hook, line, and sinker. And because of that, she happily brings the other kids in.
But even with that being stated, he never gave her context of what they are, what they truly are, and why they are that way.
Because he doesn't think she's smart enough to get that.
That's the mistake.
These are children, and he doesn't understand. He's sitting in a room with adults, talking down to adults. When the psychologist who is supposed to be helping with these kids is going, excuse me, I'm smart. He goes, you're not as smart as me. He doesn't even respect the adults in the room. When he calls the Yutani woman, it's as if he's, and I kind of had a feeling maybe he's got a crush on her, but you get the point of he's a child. And because he has this, the only And he doesn't get the only reason anybody is giving him any level of respect is because he has this money and he's had some ideas that other people, because this is how the tech bros get it, they have an idea, they hire other people to make those ideas reality, and they then reap the profits. He obviously was born into money. You can tell that he was born into money and then used that money to further his ambitions. But his attitudes from at everyone around him is dismissive. He really thinks he's the only one who matters. And one thing I get in watching this and thinking about every other alien film I've watched, especially in regards to the androids, they want a superior human, but they want a superior human programmed around what they consider acceptable parameters. Because they're the Weyland Yutani people and probably the oligarchs who support them, they've probably made promises. Oh, we're going to get this thing done, and when we're done, we're going to put you in these bodies. And then we'll have all these other creatures who will, they'll protect and serve us. So they won't.
You keep my writer brain is just like want to reject the part of it because that's this fatal flaw. He doesn't understand his fatal flaw. You went and got kids who are still growing and learning.
And they're all, I think the oldest among those kids can't be more than 12.
When they find out the actual truth and put it in context, they are going to really put him to the test.
It will,
but he's like I said, he's not the smartest person in the room. Per se.
He's got a lot of book smarts. He understands technology, but he doesn't understand people. And he doesn't understand subtlety, syntax, all these things that maturity and wisdom and experience teach us. Because he is like what we see out here in the world now. You have a lot of people who have money who other people don't say no to. And because of that, but you get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
When there's nobody,
I get exactly what you're saying.
Nobody is giving you clear parameters. You think you can just do what you want. If somebody else can't stop you, you don't. In other words, if they're not at your level or above you, you don't have any respect for them. Just like he does not respect the psychiatrist. Just like he doesn't respect the Timothy Oliphant character, or he doesn't respect the head of Weyland Yutani. His attitude to her is like, oh, you're just old. He doesn't say it, but you get it. That in other words, he just doesn't think she's smart enough to talk to him. And that's his attitude. No one in this room, I need to have a conversation with somebody who is smarter than me.
See,
he says that. And I'm sitting there going, oh, this is going to end badly. And you are going to have such a FAFO moment that part of me it's like, okay, I'm going to give it one more episode because it's every Tuesday, y'all. If you want to watch it directly on FX, it's every Tuesday. Otherwise, I think you have to get it the next day on Hulu or somewhere else. But part of me is like, I might want to stick with this series just to see his FAFO. Because and they've all had him. We've all seen that butthead. We've all seen that butthead. Who did not get up and cheer when Burke slammed that door turned around and realized he wasn't alone. You know, so and I used to have the book that Marvel did of that movie,
Mm-hmm.
and in that book in the book, and there's an extended version because I've seen the cut, but it's not in the Channel 7, or the it may be in the anniversary edition.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a point when she's looking, before she finds Newt, she finds Bert. He's the last member of this group who's been grabbed. He hasn't died yet. And he's begging her to kill it because it's like, I can feel it. I can feel it moving. Please, Ripley, help me, help me, help me. And she's like, bye. And she goes on to find Newt.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, it sucks to be you. And she goes to find Newt. Um, I, I am curious to see how it ends. FX has only so far agreed to the first season, so I don't know if there's going to be a second season. Timothy Oliphant has said his wife hopes there isn't, or she's going to be he's I think he won't get laid because they had to shave off his eyebrows.
Yeah.
And she wasn't happy with that.
I'm just seeing that character. He's going to get his comeuppance because it's going to be proven that he does not know how to apply his knowledge.
No, and he also, when you say do this and you figure somebody's going to get it done and they know you don't care how that you do your job so long as he's happy with the results, which means you're not paying attention to how things are getting done. And you don't know, you might know the big picture, but unless it's a personal project like this, you're not really paying as much attention. Like, he knows the overall of the procedure, but a lot of the moving pieces of it, they chose children who were sick. They chose young children.
Young, impressionable minds who are still growing and still learning.
And who are now put in adult bodies. So they have to learn how to deal with these bodies and senses. And also accept the fact that when they're out and about, the world does not see children.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they're kids, they are young kids, that's not what the world sees. All they see are adults. And there's an expectation, in regards to how people behave, how to respond to things, whatnot, that they're not prepared for. They're also not prepared for this situation.
They're not, again, all this thing about context. When she goes, and this is just my writer brain working, she's going to go on this search and rescue mission, and she's going to find out a lot of harsh truths.
She hasn't hit them yet.
She's about to find out a lot of harsh truths.
By the end of the second episode, she has found her brother. And without really thinking about, and he asked her enough of the right questions to realize, because he was told she was dead. They had a feud.
Mm-hmm.
They put a pine box in the ground. As far as he knew, his sister was dead. His parents are now dead. He's trying to figure out how to go have a life. He's asking her questions. He realizes this is her. He hugs her. He's happy. And then she does something because she's a child. It's very stupid. She tells him she's been watching him. She tells him she saw he was trying to go to Mars, that they were going to approve. Because of the service he had given, they were going to approve his leaving early and going to Mars, even giving him a ticket. She rewrote the system so he couldn't go. And she tells him that. In other words, hey there, you had this dream and everything, and I just crapped all over it. Even though I had this life that you weren't supposed to know about because it's supposed to be a secret. Nobody is supposed to know that these are children in android bodies. And now she's just spilled the whole thing to him. Which is sad because he then gets taken by an alien. But, episode ended there. Yeah, I'm giving spoilers. You got a problem.
No.
1-800-HATE-THAT-NEGRO.
You see, I'm not reacting to the spoilers. I'm just seeing this as like, part of me would be upset at the series about the poor writing. It's just like, that's just too obvious.
It's whoever. It's kind of like they've taken the worst aspects of, and that's what I'm saying. She had to be somewhere between 7 and 9.
Mm-hmm.
Because it doesn't. Pray sucks. Okay, you know what? We're not going to have that conversation. If you go watch Killer of Killers and be happy, okay? Predator Killer of Killers. It's on FX. No, it's on Hulu. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
but we're talking about that portion. We're talking about the alien lore.
Yeah, it is. But the Prey is a Predator film,
right?
That's the one with the Native American girl, and I loved it. But I'm not gonna debate on it. What I love is what I love, and if you can't love it, well, sucks to be you. Anyway, it is kind of, this is what you get when you have men. There are men who write exceptionally well for women, and then there are men who don't, and then a man who doesn't also write any better or worse for little girls.
Yeah, because I'm just saying, there's like,
in general,
even if she did tell him, it would have came out, I did it because I was afraid to lose you, or something of that ilk, not just surprise.
Well, like I said, it was one of those things where a child will sometimes blurt out more information than they intended to give.
Mm-hmm.
And then realizing that they told, because like I said, the only reason she tells him is because the kid that she told her secret to is the one. She's gotten to the point that once they get to the site, she doesn't care about the rescue. She's just there for her brother. She makes it clear to Timothy Olyphant's character that the only thing she wants is her brother. She didn't care about anything else. And Olyphant's got all these kids. And the guy is talking to him, and he says, well, you keep the rest of the kids, let her go. Oliphant sends the kid that she's told this secret to with her.
Mm-hmm.
He's something of a scaredy cat. Got a body that can't break, but he's a total scaredy cat. And he kind of lets it slip that she's his sister. She hadn't told him that she was his sister. This kid lets it slip that she's his sister. So, and she's like, secret? Oh, it's like, oh God. Maybe she's more like 5. Maybe she's more like 5.
It is just
but
headache inducing.
But to me, his response, and I get it, the shock of it, because by the time she finds him, he's already come not only face to face with the xenomorph, but he's seen it kill the 2 trained paramilitary people that he was supposed to be making the sweeps with. They're killed by the xenomorph. This whole party where they're dressed up like France in the Rococo age, including the white face makeup and the red lips and the wigs and everything. They're having a party. They're trying to say, hey, something is happening. A spaceship has crashed. It's falling. You're gonna die. Let's get you to safety. We're having a party. We're not buying. And then, of course, they're like, okay. He closes the door, and they're like, fine. We can't make them leave. And then the xenomorph comes, and it gets really ugly and painful. And he gets into the room, and the xenomorph just... There's a scene with the snooty guy dragging what's left of his body across the floor that you shouldn't be eating anything when you see that. If you decide you want to see it, we can watch it like this.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of these things. It's like the writing itself will piss me off, but then now you mention they added some gore. Just like, yeah, I just not
All
gonna do
the xenomorph stuff, the adult people, though the search and rescue people, their relationships, their jobs, you get that. It makes sense. What doesn't make sense are now you have these children in adult bodies, synthetic adult bodies, who should not be there. And the only reason they're there is because this chick can't, even though she's been told you're not supposed to tell anybody who you are and what you are in all of this, and they think you're dead. And then, my brother in danger, I don't care. I'm going to go get my brother. And he knows, the kid knows. You can tell he knows it. He just wants to see what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
He just wants to, there are those people who would watch the world burn just to see how hot it gets.
That's their leader. Their leader would do that.
That's their leader. And Oliphant's character, you can just tell he's just kind of like...
He probably be the one that rips dude's throat out.
I think his programming is such that he can't harm this kid. I think the parameters of his programming is he can't harm this kid, and to a degree, because the way he's telling them about, you were food. Now you're not food, but you're going out in the space and the situations you're not prepared for. You may be becoming food again. He said the delivery is kind of cold, but you get the way in which he's saying it, and he knows who he's talking to, that he's talking to children.
Yeah, kind of sort of like that.
RoboCop protocols.
Yeah, the prime directives.
You kind of feel that he is in his own cold way, because he has not been programmed to be a parental figure. But
he's programmed to be more like Ash. Yeah, once he's given an order, that's my duty.
That's my job. But he is doing the jobs he has been sent to do. His job is to see that these kids make it through this as much as they can, to get them, as many of them, to safety. And so you could tell he says it and sounds cold, but there's a way in the delivery, because it's Timothy friggin' Oliphant. Okay? That he is telling these kids this not to scare them, but he's trying to give them some information that may help them survive.
But the thing about it is that these kids have not been introduced to the semantics of context.
And he has not had to deal with kids before. I'm
not saying that he's not right. I'm just saying they have to understand context. Once these kids understand context, that's that dude's ass, because his character is going to teach them a thing or two to literally make them smarter than he is.
Yeah. And I think that's what it is. This doctoring him, if they stay with the show and maintain oversight of the kids. Oh, what did he do?
No, you have to see the memory to understand it.
Okay.
She was literally mad at me for a whole entire year, and then she forgot to re-up the contract. And now it's just a fake memory about how the this one stack of book of volume 1 was about how mad she was.
But yeah, like I said, if you love it, the opening, the first episode is really good. They set the stage, but and I get it, because every movie has that. Okay, even if you think of two, you have people who are trained, and then they end up in a situation that there's something that is beyond their kin. And it's the kid, and she survives better than they do, until she doesn't. Um, 3, she ends up on a penal colony full of murderers and rapists and whatnot. And they're pretty solid at ending life until they run into a bigger predator. That's the whole thing. Every time this happens, the xenomorph, comes off as the bigger, badder dog. He's the bigger badder dog until Ripley takes him out.
Well, that's the mythos of all of this. I don't believe that the xenomorph is the bigger, badder dog. What I believe is the xenomorph adapts too well.
It adapts exceptionally well
to this whatever situation that is in. It does not necessarily. It just means that they're the bigger, badder dog. Just because they adapt so well, they pick their shot and they execute.
And they're great ambush predators. Mm-hmm. They are exceptional ambush predators. But, the problem is when you have people like the folks that run, like Burke and other folks at Weyland-Yutani, who for some reason want to go, as Hudson says, they're just animals, man. How can they cut the power? They're just animals. Because, hey, I just read a thing about how octopuses are rewriting their RNA, making them smarter in real time, not generationally, but in the present moment,
based upon their experience.
They have experiential learning. The xenomorph, in this regard, I believe, is very much like that. In regards that it's very experiential learning. And when you have people who go into it thinking I'm smarter than you, that doesn't always work. I keep thinking of Ghost in the Darkness. He kept thinking he could do something to stop these lions. And these lions were like, or better yet, when the orcas went to Somalia a few years ago and decided to do the deep sea version of the Ghost in the Darkness, except they did it to the great white sharks. Do you know that story?
Mm-mm.
Few years back, off the coast of Somalia, they have a lot of big great white sharks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so while the beaches on Somalia are lovely, you don't go past a certain point because, well, a couple of orcas, a couple of males, and they don't know what made the orcas do it, because the orcas weren't given that information, decided to go to Somalia, which was weird in the point of the waters off the coast of Somalia are very warm. Orcas tend to like it a little colder. But these two orcas went to Somalia. And I guess the sharks are like, apex predator, you need to go away. And the orcas went, really? And the corpses started washing up on the beach. Great white sharks with their livers torn out. The orcas were catching sharks, ripping their bellies open, and eating the livers for the fat and stuff, the nutrients. They killed a lot of sharks that summer. They killed enough sharks where the other sharks got up and said, you know what, we gone.
What was his name? Game over, man. Game over.
Game over, man. Game over. Yeah, the great whites
It's
is
like,
like,
they're surrounding us. They're surrounding us. Game over, man. Game over.
it's like, I hear Australia's good at this time of year. Maybe we'll catch some koalas.
Oh, you never know. It's like you have the great white sharks talking about, I'm about to go sign up for our space force. I hear the sea of tranquility on the moon is a little bit better.
It was like they went in. I forgot what military because they, like I said, the shark corpses were piling up, and they didn't know. At first, they didn't know what on earth is killing and big great white sharks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, could have been related to Bruce. So they were like, well, dang, what's killing these sharks? And then I guess eventually they found out it was the orcas. And usually, because at first they thought maybe something happened. Orcas will sometimes, a pod of orcas will shift if something happens in their normal feeding grounds. You know, orcas, because orcas, like most other whales, they travel in a pod. You know, they have familial groups and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. They have pods. These two males just were out there on their own, partying, you know? And I think they didn't kill them. They just up and left. Okay, don't let her watch the second movie.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
you know,
that was the reference to the game over. it's
they just,
like it's like they're up in front of us. Wait a second. They're over
they're
here on the
above
side.
us.
They're all around.
They're
They're surrounded.
wait a minute.
But wait, I don't see
That's
anything.
in the
They're all,
room.
it's like the equipment saying they're all around us.
Something in the floor, something in the
In the
something that wasn't
ceiling, in
in
the
the plant.
floor, in
Oh
the
my
walls.
goodness.
It was like, it's like,
Well,
and
they
then
weren't in the
as soon as
walls,
that
but they
first
were in
one
the
came
ceiling.
out, he was like, game over, man, game over. We can't get out of this situation.
But it just and the orcas didn't leave until all the sharks were gone.
Wow.
So, you know, all and the sharks, like I said, it got to the point where the remaining sharks, because usually once sharks, just like that was one thing they said for real in the first Jaws, once sharks find good feeding, they don't tend to leave. You know, if that's a good feeding ground, they're going to hang out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, how do you get the sharks to go away? Get orcas in there with a touch for cruelty. Because they weren't eating the entire sharks. They were just ripping open the bellies and pulling out the yummy bits and leaving the rest.
And it was leaving the rest. It's like, hey, fishies, here you go.
And the other fish is like, no, that's okay, we good. You know? And so the
No, they're probably looking at the orcas like, you ain't doing that to us, are you? We're your friends.
we're yeah. Hi, I'm a clownfish. Yeah, I can help you get immune to the anemones.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the orcas is like, no, we fine. That don't touch us.
Uh-huh.
But and the orcas just eventually left on their own. And it was just these two. So it wasn't like something happened on their ground. And they don't know what made the orcas do it.
Or what brought them to that region the way that they did.
Because it was so unlike. And I have seen footage of a pod of orcas attacking a gray whale. And they're big. They are fast. They are relentless. And they will, I think it took them about, the entire pod must have stripped that, and it was alive. They did it still living things. Took about 20 minutes. And it was done. But they started from the outside and, you know, went in. But it was just, this just left them baffled. The authorities, they called, I think they reached out to the Shed Aquarium and the British Oceanography societies and whatnot were saying, we got this problem with these orcas and they're killing, and they were like, on the one hand, yeah, killing the sharks is good because, when the sharks keep ending up dead, the other sharks don't want to come the other sharks kind of get scared and they don't want to swim around anymore. And
No,
then they just ran away.
my mind is so messed up right about now. Because I'm sitting back now, it's like, okay, this is off the coast of Somalia, and here comes the orcas out of the blue. It's like, hey, yo, dog, I heard you was talking shit about us. Word traveled back to us from the cold, icy waters here that you got beef with us. And the sharks, the great whites are like, and what? We're kings around here. Y'all better go home and better recognize what? First one is like, anybody else got something to say? Oh, you gonna kill my boy here? Here, come! I'm about to come at you. Anybody else? And then there's a whole big fight and everything, and that goes on for several days, and eventually they're up there like, what are we going to do about these whales here?
Can we get the humans to help?
Yeah,
Humans are like, dude.
Can we get the? It's like, man, I don't know. Maybe if we just lay low, they might go away. I was like, nah, man, we can't lay low. We can't lay low here. We're just like, but what about the operation? We might have to take the operation on the road.
Because the thing
You might
about
have to take the
sharks,
operation on the road because right now we can't survive.
with the exception of stingrays, most sharks that are most carnivorous sharks, especially great whites, don't sleep, which I think is what makes them so bad-tempered and so quick to attack. But it also means why they are such voracious eaters, is because when you don't sleep very much, you have to keep moving, because if a shark stops moving, they drown. That was the whole point of, for people who saw Jaws and didn't get why they were putting those barrels out there, is because you shoot enough barrels into the shark is then caught up in the ropes. He cannot move. If he cannot move, he cannot breathe. He will drown.
Mm-hmm.
So that was why they were using the barrels. So, the shark, especially those big sharks, they have to keep moving in order to keep their bodies. And because you are constantly moving like that, you are burning a lot of calories. So yeah, you got to eat big prey. So imagine how it must be for them when they're in the water.
No, now
And all of a sudden, here comes, and I always think of it like, orcas have a humor, and the orcas swim up going, and he is Flipper, Flipper, Flipper. They're kind of swimming up singing whatever little silly song.
No, after they bite into him, it'd be like, and it's Flipper, and they flip on the one side, and Flipper.
Because the thing is I was taught long ago as a child, you injure a fish's tail, they cannot swim.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, yeah, you go okay, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to swim at him. He's going to come at me. The minute he turns upside down to think he's going to bite, that's when you grab that tail. Chomp on that tail real good. That's going to cripple him. The minute you cripple him, I'm going to swing around out the way of them teeth, and I'm going to rip open that tummy, and we're going to have us some liver. And that was, and after a while, some sharks saw that, went down and went to the other sharks and said, dude, do y'all know what these fish are? And he's describing it, and it's like, oh, those aren't fish. They're like, what are they? It's like, those are whales. Don't we eat whales? No, we don't eat. We do, but these are whales that bite back. We got to be careful. And I'm sure they sent the shark out there to go, hey, We like swimming in the water. Dun dun dun. You like swimming in the water. Maybe we can come to an agreement. We'll have this part of the beach, and we'll chomp up them humans, and we'll leave bits of them. You can eat the bits we leave. You don't even have to hunt. And orcas probably one on each side of the shark. Sounds like an idea. Hold on. What do you think, Clancy? Clancy bites the tail. Key rips open the belly. They send back the corpse. What a little note. You need a better idea.
Now why are you making me think about a shark's tail all of a sudden? That stupid animated movie now. Oscar the Shark Slayer.
But like I said, I'm gonna watch at least another 2 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I will update people as I go through it to tell you what I think. There are parts of it that are really good. The visuals, cinematography, the set design is amazing, especially when you think they have to go in and out of, there's a spaceship embedded into an office tower, a high-rise tower, and it is slowly falling down and taking the tower with it.
Wait, so it slams in, gets stuck, and the sheer weight of it just causing the rest of it fall straight down.
Yeah, but it's slow because it's a huge tower and stuff. But
even still, it's like as soon as it hits, it would be like immediate evacuation of the tower. No, we're going to party.
There's always an idiot in every group. There's always an idiot in every group, and this was a group of rich idiots who decided they were going to party like it's 1999, and that they obviously knew better than these poor search and rescue folks did. And we followed the search and rescue, as well as this girl, as they're trying. The search and rescue people are trying to actually find people and save their lives. This girl just wants to find her brother. She doesn't care about anybody else. She just wants to find her brother. And nobody is aware, except her brother and some folks who are already dead now, that there are xenomorphs. And worse, just as bad, because they will make you just as dead as the xenomorphs, including something that, what a tick is. You know how ticks feed? They either don't drop off or they fill up with blood, and then they finally, if that bothers you, I'm gonna warn you, don't. There are some really gory body horror stuff going on in there. So if that bothers you, don't watch it, because you will be upset. Those of us who've seen all those movies.
I'm not a big person for gore. But it's the context of it, to be quite honest. Because if I could make it through Saw,
if you can make it through
Saw,
Saw,
will bother a lot of people when it comes to a lot of the death scenes.
And I'm not giving everything that happens in the episodes. If you ever want to watch it, let me know. I will have Charles explain how I can pull up Hulu and then patch in, and we can watch it together. But this was. Like I said, I want to watch a few more episodes. I am upset about the introduction of the children. But I get it's every movie is kind of, can you top this? Can you top this? How can you make this situation even worse? We've already gotten to this level. We need to get to the next level to make it worse.
Well, I was getting to the point where it's like, how can we offend people without getting canceled or banned? That's the way I took that. That scene.
Well, I think this is a reason why it's late in the evening on FX. And because FX has done American Horror Story, The Walking Dead, they're known for this level of stuff.
Wait, so they took over from where AMC left off? Because AMC was Walking Dead.
It was Walking Dead on AMC. I've watched Walking Dead episodes on FX, I think. But American Horror Story is definitely FX. And they've had a couple of other horror things. Yeah,
No, she cannot watch Saw. She cannot watch
don't
Saw.
you dare let that baby watch Saw.
She will have nightmares if she watched Saw.
Yes. Don't even think about that. That's just no. But
the very first crime scene within itself. Because remember, the movie starts off with him introducing that first game, and then it flash forward to the police investigation where they saw the end result of that game.
The Strain was on FX, right? When
yes.
The Strain came. Yeah, so they've done horror before. They have done lots of horror and lots of violence and stuff. So
I think that was on there. The Americans was on there.
Yeah, but the Americans wasn't scary. Not horror scary. It was intrigue and espionage.
I'm thinking about everything that is thriller like, that does have those moments where they do get a little bit too intense with the violence. Such as Mr. Robot, like Mr. Robot, there was moments that they got violent.
Beanie is in the room, so I will go into the chat and describe the tick scene, and then scare the daylights out of Cliff. He won't talk to us for 2 weeks.
Yeah, because I'm up here, it's like, Saw is something that I couldn't show Beanie. I couldn't show Beanie something like Demons.
Nope. The Strain is something we couldn't show Beanie. And I've seen all of the Strain. Every 8 to 10 months I pull it out and give her a gander.
None of the
Helsing. None of the
Helsing. No, I was thinking, like, I was confusing Hellraiser with Phantasm. You can't show her Phantasm.
Can't show her Hellraiser either.
Some of the later ones was not gory at all.
Yeah, but the early ones.
The early ones was like, no. She might be able to make it through, like,
30 Days of Night.
No. Nope. She might be able to make it through Nightmare on Elm Street.
Because by today's standards, that would be considered tame.
But back in the day,
opening scene of the first Scream is it's just like the opening scene of Jaws. I just watched a group called the Normies watch Jaws for the first time. And they, that first 10 minutes will break you. My stepfather took me to see Jaws and then left me sitting in the theater alone because he couldn't stay. We were at the, I think it was the United Artists across the street from the Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
He went out in the lobby and just left me sitting in, I was 14, left me sitting in there by myself.
Yeah. She could probably watch Freddy versus Jason. She could probably watch that because that was...
It's very cartoonish.
Right,
it's
that was cartoonish.
It's more, by that point, Freddy and Jason are more cartoon violence. Jason X she could watch because it's so dang ridiculous. It is so dang ridiculous. She could probably watch that.
That's cartoony.
Yes, but
that's
I'm saying
very cartoony.
She could watch that because it is so cartoony and ridiculous. Where but I realize it's almost 9:00, and I have I am sorry. I killed you. I was supposed to give you a chance to do a book.
No, I didn't have a book today. I just wanted to talk
about how. Oh, okay, because it was like I was sitting there.
I would have stopped you if I had something else other than MathNet. But
like I said,
I didn't want to watch a full 30-minute episode of MathNet. I was like, give us 6 minutes, and then we could talk about whatever we need to talk about.
Well, like I said, I was sitting there watching this and going, I know this. I know a part of this story, and I realized it's right. Like, I can talk
and the thing about it, And the thing about it is that we never got an opportunity. We haven't even gotten to the stuff that Dark Horse written dealing with aliens or Predator as of yet.
Yes, we have, because one of the first things I
No,
talked
I'm talking
about
about
was
in conjunction with what's going on with this new series, because they haven't
yeah.
hit it yet. They haven't
No,
truly
they
hit it
haven't.
yet.
They haven't put it out yet. It hasn't.
Yeah.
Like I said, they've only just released the first 2 episodes. Episode 3 releases next week, so they haven't had a chance to. I don't think they've given them. Well, huge. That's cartoony in many ways.
Right.
It's
That's
fun.
not like Helsing abridged.
Yeah.
Like animate Helsing.
You know
Animate
what?
Helsing, she cannot.
You know what you would like? What my youngest likes, and he likes the universe. He likes the Universal monsters, but they also did a collection of Abbott and Costello
Yes.
meets those monsters. The Invisible Man, Frankenstein. I think there was one with was Dracula and the Wolf Man together. They have a couple of those movies. She would like them because they make, even though the monsters are still the monsters, the point where Lou Costello is supposed to be attacked by Lon Chaney's Wolfman, and because he just steps one way or the other at the right time, Laney's Wolfman just keeps tripping and falling on his face. So, something like that, it's got a little scariness, so it's like, oh, exciting, but nothing really horrible happens. Because it's the Invisible Man and what is it? And Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So it's a whole.
Nothing be Frankenstein meets Frankenstein. That is hilarious. Or the Mummy.
And the Mummy. I mean, there are several of those. Look them up. She will like those. She will like those. I don't know if it's worse than endometriosis.
And the other one that I liked too was Abbott and Costello meets Jack and the Beanstalk.
Oh, when they did that one, the musical.
Yeah.
That one was good. But it is almost 9.
It caught me off guard, and it's like it had whatchamacallit, Dorothy Ford up in it. And she was like one of the actresses that I was following, because it's like during that time she was like one of the few actresses that was like 6'4". She was like one of the tallest actresses in Hollywood.
Yeah, and now Gwendolyn.
Yeah, she was supposed to play like the Giant's wife, and I forgot who they got to play that was like 7 foot tall to be like the Giant.
Ooh, I can't remember. I think now Gwendolyn Christie is one of the tallest women in film. Gina Davis was. For a long time, it was Gina Davis and Sigourney Weaver, because they're both 6 feet.
I think Gina Davis is like 6'1" or 6'2".
6'1", that's right. She's an inch taller than Weaver. Weaver is 6 foot solid, which is why when she did The Year of Living Dangerously, they weren't sure about casting her because she's so much taller than Mel Gibson. But Gibson wanted to bang her or something, and so she got the part.
Being wants to know if there were more movies like Space Jam and Roger Rabbit.
There are some old movies that blend animation and live action. Some of them are fun. I can get a list. And then
the only first one that came to my mind, I don't know why it came to my mind in that aspect, is the Phantom Toll Booth.
I wasn't thinking of that one. And no, the Bakshi one with what's his name?
Well, you have to be careful with Bocce, because Bocce has some that was pretty risque and other ones that were pretty good.
This one is very risque when you go in a character's mouth and come out his butthole. That's pretty risque. Funny as all get out, but pretty risque. But there are some.
That could be any one of his movies.
Cool World, it's Cool World or something.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the one. That's the
one. That's the
Hollywood,
live action.
the Hollywood movie with whatchamacallit. I forgot who the two main characters. He
becomes a tune at the end, and he gets the girl
to be with Hollywood, because Hollywood was trying to cross the barrier to become human.
And
And
she,
in order to do that, it would break reality for her to do so.
yeah, and because he was killed by a tune, he then
I
became a
agree.
tune.
I agree. Cool World is not Beanie's
No, that's
level.
not Beanie.
Yeah.
But I mean, their March of the March of the Wooden Soldiers is not necessarily animation.
Hmm.
It's Laurel and Hardy, and it's not animation in the classic sense, but the wooden soldiers are there. If she likes animation, Disney Plus, both Fantasias are there, as well as some of their classic 50s stuff that they did. There's a collection of their classic 50s stuff that is set to music, kind of like we're the guys who didn't get to do Fantasia, so we did this stuff instead. And of course, I think she could handle the Halloween. When I was a kid, this was a classic Perry. Every Halloween, they used to show us Ichabod and
The Legend of
Mr.
Sleepy
Toad.
Hollow. The Legend
Yeah,
of Sleepy
so it
Hollow.
was Ichabod Crane and then Toad. They were a combo. With Bing Crosby doing the Sleepy Hollow, because they make it kind of a musical, and then Toad of Toad Hall.
Well, they got rid of the footage that, if I remember correctly, Wonderful World of Disney did that whole Bing Crosby thing. They added in those scenes to lead into the animation here. But you had
But he
the
also
Legend of
does
Sleep.
this. He does the songs because he narrates. He narrates it, and then he sings for Ichabod, because there's that part where he's
He's
giving
teaching all the women, and the women were
and
singing
at first
along
they're
with
like
him.
ah! And then he's like boom 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 boom,
Right.
and he chills them out, and then suddenly they can sing, baby.
And I could just see, yeah, I just remember seeing Brom Bones just being so jealous and watching him, and how they were describing him, because the books describe him one way, but Disney drew him in such a more messed up way. And it's like, how are they finding this attractive? It's like he got this curly hair, and his
He's got the
profile
little,
is so
and
distinguished, but
he's
he had this beak of a nose and everything in the
well.
cartoon.
The thing is the time in which it was supposed to be set.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Brahm, of course, was a favorable choice because he was a big, burly man.
Mm-hmm.
But here was Ichabod. He knew how to talk to him.
He was a
He
tall
was a
he was
he
a
was a
tall thinner man that
he
was not someone from the country. He was more
he
more
was
sophisticated.
intelligent. He was erudite. He knew how to talk to women. He knew how to flatter. He could dance. He knew how to tell interesting he was a schoolmaster.
Mm-hmm.
So he was well read. So, and Disney kind of play into it in the animated. I think she was always going to end up with Braun.
Yeah, Priscilla.
But yeah, Priscilla was always going to end up with him. But I think she wanted to make him jealous, to make him understand that she was a prize to be won. It wasn't a done, even though technically it was a done deal. As
Mm-hmm.
far as she was concerned, it wasn't. I don't think she ever would have seriously connected with Ichabod, but everybody else was pretty much paired up and spoken for,
Mm-hmm.
except him, and she could use him to make him jealous so that she knew he wanted her. But she wanted him to know it wasn't going to be as easy as, well, I'm here, you're here, hello. So, and I think in many ways, if you read the story, yeah, she uses him. She uses him because you figure she was always going to end up with him. That was the kind of man that men wanted to marry their daughters to, especially her father was the richest farmer
Mm-hmm.
in the
Or the richest
area.
landowner that was there. I forgot what he does, but he had a
He
lot of
had,
a lot of land.
he had he had a lot of land. He had crops and whatnot. So he would be looking at him because he wants to make sure that somebody can manage this place when he's gone. you know, and she marries Brahm. He can retire in a few years, you know, teach the boy how he wants things run, and then he can go retire
Mhm.
and live the rest of his life quietly. You're not going to get that with the schoolmaster, but, you know, I think it was the feeling that it was automatically decided between her father and him. And she wanted to let him know that I have a say in this. And maybe I don't want you.
Well, it wasn't the fact that it was more of the thrill of the fact that Ichabod
Watching him
could actually get her out of that town. If they did get together, he was well off enough where they could
No,
leave.
he was a school teacher. He
Right.
lived in the schoolhouse. He taught the kids. He had enough to live on, but it wasn't like he was a teacher at a university. He
No, but the
taught the
thing about it that
town's
he would go
children,
from town to town being the school teacher.
but they were not exceptionally well paid.
Mhm.
That's why a lot of times, you know, Sundays, he was getting dinner. He was, you know, he'd go, oh, this Sunday I'm going over there. You know, this Sunday I'm going to the Van Tassels. Sunday I'm going over there, because he was paid. They were not paid all that well. They were paid enough so that they had it what they need to teach. They could afford basics, but they weren't paid handsomely. He wasn't the private instructor to somebody's household.
Exactly.
And he had to, and on top of everything else, because he taught there, he also had to maintain the schoolhouse.
Mm-hmm.
So any problems in the schoolhouse, he had to repair it. Yeah, we're teaching you a little bit about history. Ooh.
Well, we teach again context. The key
Context.
This episode of Comic Book Spectrum is being brought to you by the word
context. God, we're going to jail. We're so going to jail. Anyway, it is after 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
All I've had that's solid to eat today is a pickle.
No, you gotta go eat. So
I'm gonna go make a sandwich.
Here you go.
Thank you guys. We love you. Thank you, Leia, Beanie. Thank you guys for being here.
You forgot about Lils.
Sorry, Lils. I'm tired, baby. If Joe were here, I'd probably be chewing on his arm. Okay, and I can't chew on Courtney because she runs too fast, and John fights back. But anyway,
well, that's only because you don't have stabby in your hand. Because if you have stabby in your hand, they would be like, okay, here you go. We'll gladly do it.
Courtney, do you think I can make it to the stabbies before you can get up and run away?
You'll get into the kitchen and I'll already be out the door.
Did you hear that? She's got it timed. Okay, she knows how I move. She's watched me. She's like, no, you ain't getting this before I'm out that door. And you can't get down the stairs. So like Joe Jerky, yes. And I got ketchup. But anyway, I am not getting out of here. Thank you for being here, everybody. Thank you whether you're watching us live on Facebook or YouTube, or if you watch us later on. Thank you for coming. We hope we've been somewhat entertaining and a little bit educational. Y'all have a good time. We love you to death. We do. And I will see you next week unless my tech gives out. Okay? Bye. Hey. Bye.
Bye. And as always, Comic Book Spectrum is always brought to you by Plasma Fire Graphics and Jeffrey Hayes. So if you need a cover for your upcoming novel, your graphic novel, or your comic book, hit up Jeffrey Hayes at Plasma Fire Graphics. Why? Because award-winning authors, their artwork brings people to the table. If you don't believe me, take a good gander at this.
You've worked hard and written a great book. Now it's time to give it a great cover. If you're an indie author or small press publisher, Plasma Fire Graphics is your source for affordable cover illustration and graphic design. Plasma Fire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you.
So you seen the covers that was in that commercial? That's the reason why you want to hire Jeffrey Hayes. So hit him up at plasmafiregraphics.com. As far as myself, I will be back here Saturday for another episode from the Desolate Small Press Publisher. And yep, that is right. Context is this whole show is brought to you by the word context. Like just like with Sesame Street, we have context here. And Leos is being just like what Uncle BKN wants you to do. Wash your hands. Yep, make certain that those hands were washed here. But unlike Brian K. Morris, I don't care if you wash your hands. Just remember this one key thing. Never, and I do mean never, apologize for being awesome. I do mean never apologize for being awesome. That's what Unky BKM wants you to do. And I'm telling you to do it. So until next time, live life, grow, and be well. And we see you right here next Thursday for another episode of Comic Book Spectrum. Have a good rest of your Thursday. Bye.